tinnitus, that ringing sound inside the ears or inside the head, pain in the jaw, in the face. Many times it gets confused with trigeminal neuralgia. We clench our teeth or grind them, we wear down the dental pieces, and we can even end up breaking them. We can also talk about indigestion directly. We're talking about the stomach, the intestine, finishing a meal and feeling a lot of digestive bloating. All of this is connected. That is, when we have tinnitus, it generates anxiety. Anxiety increases the volume of the ringing. That nervousness makes us clench our teeth, and all of this causes poor digestion and eventually indigestion, which feeds the whole circuit back negatively, of course. That's why today I'm going to tell you how to break this vicious, harmful circle that causes so much discomfort and even anguish. Is there anything more distressing than feeling a ringing or noise inside your head that you cannot get rid of? I know it. I've experienced it. I treat many people with these problems, and I know it's desperate. There's nothing more distressing than not being able to cut off the sound. We can't have silence. We've completely lost silence. On the other hand, we also don't know how to eat, which causes absurd digestions. We don't finish digesting. We don't feel good in our gut. Obviously, we go to the bathroom however we can, and what ends up in the toilet is anything but proper stool. And then we have to talk about bruxism, this constant clenching of teeth. All the time you see information about treatments for bruxism, how to improve it, or stop grinding. But I want you to know one thing, my conclusion. For me, bruxism is a neurological condition. We're not talking about just habit, anxiety, or nerves. I'm talking about something anatomical and neurological that makes us clench our teeth and eventually, in the worst cases, grind them down, scraping, crushing, and wearing them out. This directly affects the auditory nerve and the perception of tinnitus, the ringing, and the anguish. What I really want to talk about is this triad, this vicious triangle of anxiety or low mood, tinnitus or ringing in the head, and the jaw joint together with the cervico-occipital column. This is important. If I mention the temporomandibular and cervico-occipital joints, they're only about 10 cm apart. The cervico-occipital joint connects the skull to the spine, right next to the jaw joint. So what do you think happens when we're constantly clenching our teeth, and this is practically touching the occipital area? We disrupt everything, and what happens? Here's the curious part. If you can understand this, you'll see where to go to improve digestive issues, neurological issues, tinnitus, and even anxiety. The auditory nerve, or vestibulocochlear nerve, is the 8th cranial nerve. From the top of the occipital area, it's number 8. The 10th cranial nerve is the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body, which innervates the entire visceral system. They're close. One is 8, the other is 10. They may not connect directly anatomically, but they're constantly related through ongoing bidirectional communication. This makes sense. If we are in a constant emergency state, chronic stress, high cortisol because of work problems, relationship issues, difficulties with kids, or health issues with our parents, we get stuck in a sympathetic state. That means the sympathetic nervous system is turned on, always activated, preparing us for fight or flight. And in that state, digestion shuts down. There's no way to be in fight or flight mode and digest well. We digest, but poorly. That causes irritation, intestinal hyperpermeability, leaky gut, and metabolic intoxication. But that's not even the worst part. Often it creates extreme hunger because the body seeks quick energy, which triggers binge eating. Some people, on the other hand, lose their appetite entirely. This is called anorexia nervosa. Others crave hyperpalatable junk foods full of sugar that give instant energy but cause toxic damage. So when the sympathetic system is on, the vagus nerve is inhibited. But we need a coherent parasympathetic state, driven by a well-functioning vagus nerve. Only then can we enjoy food, absorb nutrients, digest properly, and produce healthy bowel movements. The vagus nerve also manages emotions. If we're under stress, we can't regulate emotions properly. We get repetitive, intrusive thoughts. We feel anxious, sad, we can't sleep. And the auditory nerve, the 8th cranial nerve, stays overstimulated. That nerve connects the inner ear to the brainstem, located near the cervico-occipital joint and the jaw joint. Do you see now how one thing feeds another negatively? When everything is calm, inhibition works and things stay balanced. But when everything is off, it triggers a vicious circle that's very hard to break. Bruxism, for example, is very hard to stop. Dental night guards don't really bring rest. They're more like protective discharge plates. They protect teeth and give a little joint space, but if the jaw collapses and we keep clenching at night, it irritates the auditory system, and we wake up with ringing in the head. This matters because hearing is a protective sense. Animals like dogs or cats can turn their ears to locate danger. If we constantly hear ringing inside our head, we're always in a state of threat. That generates anxiety, distress, and even depression. And these emotions increase the volume of tinnitus. It's a vicious, almost tragic cycle. I've heard many patients call tinnitus perverse. They say, when I don't hear it, I feel fine, but when I hear it, my thoughts make it louder. And if it's not there and I look for it, I wake it up, eating poorly, clenching teeth, liver problems. All of these worsen tinnitus. If you want to improve headaches, brain fog, that feeling like your head is being squeezed, blurry vision, eye pain, or stabbing sensations inside the eyes that scare us into getting MRIs, CT scans, or eye exams that don't solve anything, remember it all connects back. If the brain is inflamed, the eyes are inflamed too. Anxiety and depression also cause eating disorders. We don't control what we eat or how much. And if we've had whiplash or cervical trauma, that can worsen all these symptoms. This is why treatment must be multidisciplinary. On one hand, hands-on therapies, osteopathy, myofascial therapy, chiropractic are needed to decompress and restore mobility to the skull, jaw, cervical spine, and facial bones. We need to calm the vagus nerve, both through manual therapy and breathing exercises like box breathing. I've made a video about that. It's a massage for the vagus nerve. We must also deflate the brain with healthy, conscious, ketogenic-based eating, healthy fats and proteins that calm brain inflammation. And finally, we need to stimulate the auditory nerve with binaural beats. With headphones, you hear different frequencies in each ear, and this massages the auditory nerve. I especially recommend theta frequency binaural beats, which calm overactive neural connections and help reduce tinnitus. If you combine all this with healthy lifestyle habits, I assure you the symptoms, anxiety, cervical pain, tinnitus, headaches, poor digestion, and bruxism will at least start to improve. Leave me your comments if this helped, and see you in the next video. Take care.